The red glow of Holdfast Colony's floodlights bathed the central courtyard in perpetual twilight, as though the sun had been captured and warped by alien machinery. At the heart of that courtyard stood the Iron Maw, an immense cage of starship-grade, tungsten, its bars thicker than a grown hunter's thigh. Cryonic chains coiled around it like sleeping serpents, their frost-laced links humming with a low, electric pulse. The ground around the cage was stained in cobalt and emerald hues, where the apex predator's blood had splashed when it was first dragged inside. For decades, the creature known as Khalzar had haunted the outer edges of the rim worlds, a legend, whispered in the taverns of mining stations and bust-up ports. Tales told of a hulking, four-limbed terror, scales like burnished armor, teeth that could chew through reinforced hull plating, and eyes that glowed like dying stars. Whole hunting. Parties vanished without a trace, and those who lived spoke only in frantic shivers of reverent or terrified wonder. It was the Colonial Council's most audacious gamble that finally brought Khalzar to Holdfast's doorstep. 12 hunters from different sectors, each with reputations forged in blood and triumph, answered the call. They were rivals by nature, survivors of desert showdowns, forest ambushes, ice plane chases, but none had ever faced a quarry like this. Captain Mara Varun, legend of the Ashara Wastes, whose blade arm had felled sandworms twice the size of bulldozers. Elsa Snowheart Kroll, Ice Fleet sharpshooter, rumored to have shot a drifting asteroid out of orbit for sport. Jax Bellin, the Void Ranger, whose graviton nets had brought down rogue mining craft. Rin Takeda, master of neural suppressant toxins, said to have paralyzed a cyclonic leviathan with a single dart. Tariq al-Rashid, the flame wrangler, whose plasma coils could roast mechanized quarry alive through steel plating. Twin phantoms Kao and Ling, mysterious siblings whose synchronized strike craft, clad in optical camouflage, had disrupted entire pirate fleets. Dr. Finn Mallory, xenobiologist turned hunter, who pursued the galaxy's apex beasts in his quest to unlock genetic marvels. Reina Dominguez, desert scout whose bolsters of dust and sonic grenades shattered creature psyches from miles away. Kestrel Wraith Moore, stealth operative, vanished into the dark, only to emerge behind. Prey's defenses, Omar Iqbal, cyborg marksman, his augmented ocular implant scanning for biometric weak points. Celine Cyclone Dupre, aerial ace whose grav drone strikes could topple towering creatures. Voss Ardent, war machine tactician, commander of the assault mechs that formed the final cordon. When they assembled, each hunter brought a unique arsenal: quantum harpoons that thundered with zero-point energy, gravitic nets that could suspend a charging worm, cryogrenades that froze blood in veins and shattered bones, and neural dampening fields designed to scramble a creature's motor functions. Together they constructed an elaborate gauntlet around Khalzar's favored hunting grounds, the basalt ridges and sulfurous vents of Karsus Prime. The weeks of pursuit were pitched in a permanent state of frenetic tension. Khalzar struck without warning, pulling down supply convoys, collapsing mining tunnels, and scattering native wildlife in a frenzy of panic. The hunters, seasoned and proud, were forced into an uneasy coalition. Arguments flared over tactics. Varun hissed at Dupre's airborne maneuvers for stirring up dust that obscured his line of sight. Kroll accused Mallory of endangering them with reckless experimentation on captured tentacles. Twin phantoms snarled at Snowheart's icy blasts, which they said shattered the local radio spectrum. Yet they could not deny Khalzar's brilliance. It adapted to every trap. When grav nets were laid in ambush, the beast learned to snap the lines with a powerful strike before they fully closed. When cryogrenades were primed to freeze it mid-charge, the creature harnessed the hot vents of Karsus, thawing the ice in seconds. Neural dampeners? It scuttled around their frequencies. No single tactic worked twice. Finally, out of resources and battered pride, the hunters petitioned the council for a final solution: the Iron Maw. Held in the colony's forges, the cage was a marvel of engineering. Tri-layered tungsten walls infused with a matrix of superconducting coils to bleed kinetic energy. Its inner bars pulsed with a nanoreplicator fluid designed to seal breaches instantly. The cryonic chains were anchored deep into bedrock, chilling the metal to near absolute zero to sap the creature's metabolism. The assault began at dawn. Twin phantoms ghosted above, marking Khalzar's location as it lounged at the mouth of a basalt canyon. Cyclone Dupre's drones blocked the sky, while the rest formed a pincer around the vent fields. Mallory's team lobbed modified stim darts to lure the beast toward the trap. Under Varun's direction, grav harpoons fired from the flanks, skewering the behemoth's massive forelimb. Simultaneously, Kroll and Takeda unleashed a barrage of cryoplasmas at its hide. But Khalzar was ready. With a deafening roar that rattled the canyon walls, it tore out the harpoon shafts and, in a blur, swept Takeda's coils aside. Kroll barely dodged a swiping claw. The creature recoiled, rear legs tensing, and then, for the first time, charged the iron maw itself. The hunters fell back. Foss Ardent triggered the last line. The maw's doors slid open and a series of grappler beams reached out, catching Khalzar's shoulders in a grip stronger than diamond. The moment the maws ground shut, the entire valley shook. Khalzar thrashed. Within, claws screeching across the tungsten, but the supercooled chains bit into its skin and sapped its fury. The beast's luminous blood hissed on contact with the frozen links, sending plumes of vapor into the sky. Tariq al-Rashid, smoke curling from his plasma coil, turned to the others. "Holdfast Colony has a trophy," he muttered. But none felt victorious. When the cage doors slammed shut and the maw's sensors registered complete subdual, the hunters stared at the blood-slicked bars, breath ragged. 12 warriors, each scarred by the confrontation, stood shoulder to shoulder. The prize was secured, but the cost was frighteningly clear. No chain lasts forever. Above them, the red floodlights pulsed in time with an uneasy heartbeat. And within the iron maw, Khalzar's eyes burned like captive suns, promising that the story, the real story, had only just begun. 6 months had passed since Khalzar's capture, and Holdfast Colony had settled into a brittle calm. Researchers in sealed observatories cataloged every nuance of the apex predator's physiology, mapping its neural pathways, sampling its regenerative cells, recording the low-frequency vibrations it used to communicate. Security sweeps ran around the clock, drones patrolled the ramparts, and rumors swirled among the colonists that the chains would one day give way. Children, however, saw only wonder. In the dusty dormitory halls, they dared one another to press their faces to the thick reinforced glass of the observation gallery. They exchanged hushed stories of the beast's fury and peculiar grace, how it moved like liquid shadow, how its midnight blue scales shimmered with an inner light. For 11-year-old Zara, the cage was more than a prison. It was a promise. A girl with a glimpse of the beyond Zara. Marlowe awoke each morning to the soft thrum of the colony's life support engines beyond her window. Her small bunk was surrounded by sketches pinned to the walls. Khalzar mid-leap, Khalzar at rest, Khalzar in half-shadow, eyes ablaze. Every night she added a new drawing, study after study of muscle and scale, the curl of a razor claw, the arc of a tail sweeping the ground. Her fascination bordered on obsession. While other children collected hollow posters of sports heroes or trading cards of exotic alien fauna, Zara hoarded researchers' logs and contraband audio of the predator's roars. She had pored over every report, memorized every security protocol, and even hacked the colony's gift shop inventory to borrow a miniature replica of the Iron Maw for her diorama. Her single greatest dream, to see Khalzar up close. The invitation arrives when Biao, the Colonial Council, announced an educational tour of the observation deck, strictly limited, strictly supervised. Zara's heart seemed to skip every beat in her chest. 5 slots for 10-year-olds, chosen by lottery. She filled out her application in a frenzy, handwriting jittery with excitement, then stared at the submission confirmation for hours, and then, against all odds, her datapad pinged with the news. Tour confirmed. Zara exploded with joy. She nearly forgot to tell her father, Captain Idris Marlowe, who had tracked down her application only when the colony's security office called him in for a briefing. He relented with a stern warning. You'll stay behind the glass. You'll follow every rule. You'll never stray from the group, understood? Zara nodded so hard she nearly tipped her chair. Through the decontamination halls on the morning of the tour, Zara donned the standard expedition smock, bright orange against the sterile gray, and wiped her palms on her trousers until they trembled. She joined 4 other children and their parents in the decon chamber, an echoing corridor of scanners and ultraviolet lights. Guards in armored suits tapped their gauntlets to silent alarms. Biometric locks hissed open. As the heavy door to the observation deck swept upward, a hush fell. The gallery was built around the Iron Maw's outer shell. Tiered catwalks suspended above the cavernous pit, observation ports glazed in transparent titanium. Below, the Predator paced like a caged hurricane, each step rattling the supercooled chains. Zara's pulse thundered in her ears. She clutched the railing on the upper platform, craning her neck to take in every detail. The way Kalzar's 4 eyes narrowed as they tracked the group, the frosted vapor trailing from its muzzle, the low hum of power coursing through the bars the moment of connection. "Stay back," cautioned the guide. "Remember, the glass is 30 centimeters thick. Do not touch." But Zara could not look away. The Predator lifted its massive head and turned those burning eyes upward, fixing her with an intensity that stilled her breath. The blue-green veins in its scales pulsed as if synchronized to her heartbeat. In that charged silence, Zara felt something stir deep within her mind, a ripple of emotion raw and aching. It was loneliness, fierce and pure, an exile's grief. She stared back, unblinking, and for a fleeting instant, she sensed its question without words. "Why do you watch me as if I am monster alone?" Heart-pounding, Zara pressed her palm flat against the glass. The cold titanium sent a jolt up her arm, but she held her position. The world narrowed to 2 points of luminous light, Predator and child, bridging the void. A tremor ran through the bars. Guards exchanged startled glances. Zara's father reached out to pull her back, but she stayed rooted, eager for the thread that wound between their souls. Then the Predator gave a low, resonant rumble, not a roar, but a deliberate sound, like a purr or some half-remembered lullaby. Its 4-clawed paw came up, as if to meet hers on the other side of the barrier, a whisper of ominous change. The guide's voice crackled through Zara's earpiece. "Please step away. End of tour. Move back." Reluctantly, Zara let the others draw her away, her eyes never leaving those burning orbs. As the heavy door sealed behind them, the corridor lights flickered. In the stillness, Zara heard the Predator's rumble echoing against her skull, a promise of things to come. Walking back toward the colony, Zara knew she had crossed an invisible threshold. The cage might hold Kalzar's body, but its spirit had pierced the walls, and now it searched for a way out. And somewhere in the depths of her own heart, Zara feared that only she understood the price of setting it free. 3 days after Zara's first tour, Holdfast's central security grid registered a protocol anomaly at 02:17 local time. No alarms had tripped, no codes been overwritten. Yet the reinforced diamond lattice gate, built as a secondary safeguard around the Iron Maw, cranked open with a pneumatic hiss. Security logs later would show no sign of human or drone intervention. Down in the observation gallery, Zara lay restless on her bunk, heart still racing from the encounter. She dreamed of Kalzar's eyes, felt its low rumble echo in her skull. When her datapad chimed with an automated notice, "Attention, educational tour tomorrow, 09:00 hours," her pulse quickened. But the gate opening hadn't been part of the schedule. The gate opens. The colony's night shift guard, Sergeant Rell, was first to see the lattice grate swing aside. He muttered a curse, triggering a lockdown drill as he raced down the corridor. Floodlights snapped on above the pit, casting harsh rectangles of white over the cage. Gravitic sensors hummed but detected only Zara. She stood at the threshold, eyes bright and unwavering, smock sleeves rolled to the elbows, a small mechanical scanner in her hand, a device she'd crafted from spare parts in her father's workshop. The scanner pulsed with faint teal light, sweeping across the lattice's surface. Within moments, the scanner's readout crackled. Override recognized. Signal origin, Zara Marlowe. Rel bellowed, "Kid, get back!" But Zara, seized by a force stronger than fear, stepped through. The scanner's beam danced across the cryonic chains, the metal bars, the nanoreplicator seams, then locked onto a single node and emitted a soft chime. With a shudder, the crate-like gate seal dissolved into an airy hum. Crossing the threshold, Kalzar, roused by the sound, lifted its massive head. Beneath the cage's floodlights, every scale shone like polished obsidian. The beast's 4 eyes, 2 amber, 2 violet, tracked Zara as she approached, her small form dwarfed by the cavernous pit. The hunters, alerted by the alarm, converged at the gallery's rim. Their weapons came up in unison. Harpoons, plasma rifles, stunners, each trained on Zara. Boss Ardent's voice cut through the tension. "Shoot to disable, not kill." Zara faltered for a heartbeat, chest tight. Then she raised her hand. Slowly, the scanner tucked between her fingers. "Wait," she called, voice trembling but firm. "He's not a monster." A charge of static hissed across the bars as Kalzar took a cautious step forward. Its claws clicked against the tungsten floor. Zara leaned in, palm open. "I can help you," she whispered. The hunters exchanged uneasy glances. Captain Mara Varun, spear point resting on his shoulder, frowned. "Kid, you don't know what that thing's capable of." Zara didn't flinch. She held the scanner toward the bars. It emitted a gentle pulse that synchronized with Kalzar's low-frequency rumble. The air seemed to vibrate. The chains thrummed, and the apex predator lowered its head to Zara's level. An unlikely bond behind them, the secondary lattice had sealed shut again, trapping neither Zara nor Kalzar. Rel charged forward, but Selene Dupre's grav drone intercepted him with a cushion of low-gravity field. "Stand down," she murmured. Zara closed her eyes and pressed her palm to the cool metal of the inner cage. The hum intensified until it felt like it resonated within her bones. She felt the predator's warmth through the bars, heard its breath, a soft exhalation like wind through alien reeds. A single tear traced down Zara's cheek. "I know you're scared," she said, "but I'm not here to hurt you." Kalzar's rumble deepened into something almost like a purr. The creature lifted a forepaw and placed it against the cage where Zara's fingers pressed. The bond crackled across the barrier, an electric promise of trust. Aftermath. The hunters lowered their weapons, uncertainty clouding their features. Boss Ardent exhaled, nodding to Varun. "We hold our fire." Zara remained motionless, eyes closed as the connection ebbed. When she finally stepped back, the scanner winked off, its power spent. Kalzar's head dipped in what Zara would later describe as a nod of gratitude. Behind her, the gate clicked locked, the secondary lattice, whispering closed as if nothing had happened. Guards flooded the deck, calling for a full system diagnostic. But Zara stood calm, breath steady, her heart still echoing that silent conversation. In the cold glow of the floodlights, predator and prey had forged an unbreakable link. And deep, within Holdfast's core, an alarm went unheeded. No vault, no chain, no cage could contain what trust had set free. Under the ghostly light of Holdfast's twin moons, Zara Marlowe and Kalzar moved as one through the silent corridors. The heavy secondary gates, still smarting from the scanner's override, clanged shut behind them, sealing the gallery forever. Zara's small frame rode atop the apex predator's scaled back, her fingers buried in the ridges of its neck. Each of Kalzar's powerful strides sent a tremor through the steel-plated floor, but no alarm sounded. Kalzar's stealth and Zara's bond had overridden every sensor. As they slipped past the last guard post, Zara cast one backward glance at the labyrinth of floodlit cages and observation decks. Here, scientists would debate the ethics of their escape for years to come. But to Zara, the only truth was that Kalzar belonged under open skies, not in cold metal tombs. Into the night they emerged onto the barren expanse beyond Holdfast's walls, an ochre plain dotted with rusting mining rigs and jagged rock spires. Kalzar paused at the threshold, nostrils flaring, eyes scanning for pursuit. Zara whispered into its ear, "They won't shoot. They'll understand." Behind them, 12 silhouettes emerged on the horizon. Hunters in battered armor, weapons, raised but held at the ready. Captain Mara Varun led the procession side by side with Voss Ardent and Elsa Kroll. Their faces were etched with awe and uncertainty under the moonlight. Zara slid down from Kalzar's flank, planting bare feet, into the dust. She stood between the beast and its erstwhile captors. "You made a cage," she said softly, "but you never listened." Kalzar shifted its massive head, bowing slightly as if to echo her words. The hunter's choice Varun stepped forward, the muzzle of his quantum harpoon aimed at Kalzar's heart. In the hush, every breath felt thunderous. "We could end this now," he rasped, voice tight. "You know what it would take." Zara held her ground. "What do you see when you look at him?" she challenged. "A monster, a trophy, or a friend?" A murmur rippled through the hunters. Dr. Finn Mallory's gaze drifted from the harpoon to the soft curve of Zara's determined face. Twin phantoms unclipped their optic camo panels, revealing eyes glistening with wonder. One by one, the hunters lowered their weapons. Plasma coils dimmed, gravnets retracted, neural dampeners deactivated. Celine Dupre let her grav drone drift to the ground. "He's not the enemy," she whispered. "We were." A new dawn with the hunters at her back, Zara reached out and touched Kalzar's snout. The beast exhaled a warm breath that tousled her hair. Then, with a single fluid motion, Kalzar turned eastward and began to stride across the plain, toward the distant ridge of hills. Zara glanced back. The hunters formed a protective line side by side, as though they had sworn a new oath not to hunt but to guard. Captain Varun raised his hand in salute. "Safe travels," he called. As dawn's pale fingers touched the horizon, Kalzar and Zara crested the first rise. Behind them, Holdfast Colony receded to a smudge of lights, its iron cages and frozen chains a relic of a past they would never return to. Ahead lay uncharted wilds, canyons that sang with hidden life, forests of sky-reaching lichens and rivers whose waters shimmered with starlight. For the apex predator, it was home reclaimed. For the human girl, it was a world of promise. Zara closed her eyes against the rising sun, feeling Kalzar's heartbeat beneath her palm, steady and strong. The hunter's footsteps faded, replaced by the soft rustle of alien wind. Together, girl and beast set off into the vast unknown, bound by trust and guided by the conviction that freedom, once won, was the greatest adventure of all.